Hey guys, this is Colby from M11. Today I'm going to be showing you how to put on our heavy duty roof rack for the Jeep Cherokee XJ. This will fit all the years of the XJ from 84 all the way up to 2001, and then later than that even in the foreign markets. But we'll go ahead and unbox this thing in the garage. I'll show you the tools that we need, what's included in the kit, and then we'll jump right in. Alright, so for this install, you're going to need a 5 and a 6mm Allen. You're going to need a T25 Torx, an adjustable wrench, and then I have a 10mm and a 13mm socket. A standard ratchet will be fine. I'm going to use my electric ratchet for convenience, and then of course I have my impact gun for convenience as well. In the kit, you'll get the rear piece, front piece, the two sides, and they are designated left versus right based on the direction of the logo. You'll get some trim lock, which will be installed on the front piece here to protect your paint from any rubbing that may happen. And then you get 7 cross rails. And then you get this box here, which has some stickers, business card, a bottle opener, and then all of the hardware that you're going to need for the entire install. So we'll go ahead and set that out here. At the bottom, you'll get the rail clamps. That's what's wrapped up in these papers. So you can see those here. So these are the clamps, and then these are the mounts that bolt onto your side pieces here. But we'll get to that with the installation onto the Jeep. All right, we're going to start the installation from up here on the roof, and we're going to remove these cross rails, which there is a T25 Torx in these mount bars all the way down. You can remove the entire bar if you choose, but our roof rack should actually go over the top of these, so you don't have to remove them, and that'll help prevent any water leaks that you could cause by disrupting this seal that's very, very old nowadays. So we're just going to remove this one on the end and pull this rail cap off, and then that will allow these to slide all the way off the end. And then we'll repeat that with the front crossbar here on both sides, and then reinstall this cap piece on the end. All right, next up, we're going to grab all of our steel pieces, which are the two side pieces, the front and the rear piece, and we're going to assemble them on the ground. And then once the 4 of those are put together, we're going to add our rail mounts, and then the clamps will be last, so we won't mess with them yet. But all of this is going to be using our M6 hardware, which is the bags that have a much larger quantity. The M8 hardware here is for the rail clamps to the rail mounts, so we'll also save those for last. All right, you can see here we got all the steel pieces loosely assembled, and everything should stay hand tight because that'll help putting it up onto your Jeep. A lot of these XJs, some of them are twisted, some of them are just shaped a little bit different from the years. So leaving everything loose until the very end is what we recommend doing when you're installing these. Next up, before we take it to the Jeep, we'll take our trim lock here, and all this does, it's got a little channel, you can see there. Just presses right onto this front piece. And you can use as much or as little of it as you want. We made sure to provide extra in the kit, so you'll have to trim it to fit depending on your application. You can see it installs very easy. And then I'll just trim it there. And then for those of you who have very little clearance in the back because your roof is warped or something of that nature, we have an extra little bit here that you can put in the back right in the center. But I'm going to trim this to right here, and then we will put this up onto the roof. All right, now that we've set this up here, there's a couple things that I want to point out. First of all, when you're setting your distance back from the windshield, our estimation is that if you follow this gasket on the side of your windshield, it should basically go right into the corner of the rack. But the best thing to do is always have your hatch all the way open so you can see about where it lands. On the XJs, usually it's not a problem with the back clearance, but just to be safe with your specific Jeep, always make sure to have this open. Secondly, this Jeep here is a good example of how XJs will twist over the years when they do not have frame stiffeners on them. So we left all of these. I tightened these up kind of tight. I didn't put a tool on them, but I cranked them all the way down just so that I could show you on the other side here. They cranked all the way down. Some of our gutter mounts will fit perfectly fine, and some of them will stick out beyond the outside of the rail here. So that's why you want to make sure to leave everything a little bit loose when you're installing it up on the roof. That way you can get all of your mounts inside the gutter before tightening everything down. So I'm going to loosen it back up and correct this, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, next up we're going to install the cross rails here. So we're going to take these one at a time, and we're going to take them up to the Jeep, and they take the same M6 hardware as all of the side pieces do, except without the nuts, obviously. They are threaded in the ends, and I'll show you on the roof rack here. They go into these slots up at the top so that they have a little bit of adjustability back and forth, and there are 7 of them. So we're going to get them out one at a time and thread those in. Another thing I want to mention when you're putting these rails in is that you want to leave them finger tight, but also you want to leave a lot of thread sticking out. You can see here our bolts are pretty long, so you'll get really, really good engagement into the rails when they're fully tightened. But if you do fully tighten them, you'll never get them into the other side to start those bolts. So make sure you leave really, really good thread open right here. That way when you start to do the other side, you can pull it apart and fit them down in there if needed. All right, now that all the crossbars are loosely fitted, we're going to tighten them up, and we're going to start in the middle and work our way out, similar to how you would torque down head bolts, so that we stay nice and square. It's not going to hurt them. It'll suck them back in if you do start at one end and work your way down. But best practice is to start in the middle. That way it's uniform down both sides. So that's what we recommend. All right, with all of the cross rails tightened down, you can go ahead and tighten your front and rear pieces. These have a 10mm nut on the back of them. That's what the 10mm is for. And all of these bolts that we see here are all a 4mm Allen. The 5mm will be for these guys here, which we're going to do next. But let's tighten these up first. Next up, we're going to put our rail clamps on, and these use the M8 hardware, which is a 13mm nut and a 5mm Allen wrench. So we're going to go assemble these all by hand loosely, and then once we have all 6 of them on, we can slowly tighten from the center out, like what we did with the cross rails. You can see we've got all the rail clamps mounted by hand. They're still loose, so they have some adjustability. A couple things you want to watch for is you want to make sure that your gutter mount is down, because sometimes you can wiggle these up and down depending on how your XJ is twisted. So you want to make sure to push those down as much as you can, and the clamp you want to push up off of your door. Some Jeeps are going to be twisted so much that you might contact the edge of these. You've got plenty of meat here. You can grind these down a little bit if you need to. On the Jeeps that are really twisted, it will actually hit these. So if yours is like that from not having unibody stiffeners, it's just something you're going to have to do is grind this down a little bit and throw some paint on here. You can see that one will go up a little bit there. And you can see really good here the amount of adjustability that some of these have from this Jeep just being a little bit twisted. So that's why we include this really large slot and the adjustability on these. So we're going to go around and we're going to tighten the center ones first and then these upper ones second. That ensures that we have this clamp down where we want it, and then we'll tighten this to the side brackets. All right, and once you have all the rail clamp bolts tightened, both the center one and then these outside two, then your roof rack is installed. And if all you got is the roof rack by itself, that's the end of your installation. If you bought the optional camp lights that we offer, which are these right here, we're going to install them next. They mount to these two holes here, and then you have a slot for your wire to go through. The installation is pretty self-explanatory. It's just the two bolt holes and then the wire. They come with their own hardware, and they come with this nice gasket too that'll mount right here and keep this from scratching and rattling and everything else. All right, and this is what the camp lights look like installed. You can see we've got the gasket in here, and the wire comes out of the back side. When you're running wires for this, on the XJs, it's really easy. You can pull up the gasket around your windshield and run it down the side and through the cowl under the hood or through your fender, however direction you want to go. And that's going to do it for the installation of the roof rack for the Jeep Cherokee XJ. If you want to pick one of these up, I'm going to leave a link to our website down in the description, M11offroad.com. You can also find these for sale on eBay. And then if you have any questions about it at all, feel free to contact us. You can reach out via our website. You can go to any of our social medias, which will all be linked down below as well. As of right now, when I'm filming this, our only add-on accessory is going to be our camping lights. But as time goes on, we're going to add a whole bunch of accessories that you're able to buy for this. So even if you purchase one early, make sure to come back to our website and keep checking for all the stuff we're going to add to this. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you out on the trails.